What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Tough Runs Don't Last podcast. I'm Graham Powell on this screen. That's Michelle Zingulis on the other. Say what's poppin' off in Michelle.
What's pop-a-loppin', Michelle?
A few things here and there. Before we get going, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor. The Tough Runs Don't Last podcast is presented by Rhino Races. Rhino Races is a virtual race series that offers 5 different races: a 5K, 10K, half marathon, a marathon, and the one of a kind Rhino Ultra. You can sign up for one or all 5 of their races at rhinoraces.com. Run your race at your convenience, track it with your fitness app of choice, screenshot your results as proof of completion. Submit that screenshot to rhinoraces.com under the submit results section. Once your results are verified by Rhino Races staff, your award will be shipped to you by mail. Also, check out their gear section while you're there for t-shirts, wristbands, decals, and more. That's rhinoraces.com. Rhino Races is the premier virtual running series. You can find us, the Tough Runs Don't Last podcast, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on X at TR Don't Last. When you have like a cup of something, water, coffee, just a beverage that doesn't have a lid on it, and you'll have like a little hair that you can just see kind of just sitting at the top.
Yeah.
Get the little squiggly thing in your cup. I was getting that out of my coffee cup as I was reading off the sponsor info there. But it is out. I don't have anything to, I just did this with my hands to dry them. It seemed to work.
Good.
But anyway, what's been going on with you, Michelle, since we last spoke to everyone?
A lot of personal things that we won't get into on here. No running things, because of those personal things and because it is officially finals time for me. So I took a final today and I have one more final on Wednesday. So I am in study mode.
You made that sound very like kind of dark. Like
The personal things are good things.
Okay.
We'll go with that. They are very good things, but we know that I like to keep some of my personal life personal, so we will not be talking about those things on here.
People, but it just sounded very grim the way you delivered it. So
Well, I am okay. I am not dying. We're good.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to clarify that so people aren't being like, is Michelle okay? Like, yeah, I think so.
Yes.
But I was doing schoolwork as well late into last night and got pretty much everything done that I need to. There's a couple more things I need to do, but I did have a race yesterday. It was the Toad Suck 10K. I'm wearing my Little Rock Marathon 10K shirt.
I was going to say, that's not that shirt.
No, for those of you watching on Spotify and YouTube. It's the Toad Suck 10K shirt. I've already hung it up. I do like the shirt. It's a white shirt. I like it, but it's one of those shirts I'll have to wear like on my skinny days,
Yeah.
For whatever version of that is for me. I mean, it fits, but it's not like a comfortable fit. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I want to go out and look good, then yeah, it'll work. But if I want to go out and eat in it, then I may need to rethink my choices there. But also, people can't really see the shirt I'm wearing anyway on here, so I didn't bother wearing it. I've kind of gotten to where I just don't even bother dealing with that because you can't see. I really got to go out of my way for you to see the shirt on camera. But I did the Toad Suck 10K. I had only done that race one other time before, and I think it was in 2018. I think it was 28. Yeah, I believe it was 2018 was the year I did it. And it's the same time every year. It's always the first weekend of May. That's what they tell me anyway. But it was hot the year that I did. I mean, muggy and warm. Yesterday it was cool. I wore long sleeves. I wore my long sleeve cruiser shirt at the start. Kind of regretted it a little bit, but not too much. I enjoyed it early on, and I tell people all the time I'd rather be hot than cold. I'm in the minority on that when it comes to running. I would have been fine just in a tank once I started moving. But prior to that, I was very comfortable in my long sleeves. I didn't get too hot yesterday. Well, I looked at my time from 2018, the year I did it, and I did it in 50 minutes and change. I remember there were a couple of times I had to stop and walk for a minute just because it was so hot, or I was so hot. And I was in decent shape back then. I was in more like well-rounded shape, I guess you could say. I lifted then, so I saw I had back when they printed newspapers still. I saw that I was in whatever print form was available then in Conway. My grandpa, who lives in Conway, sent my dad pictures of the clip, and I'm there on the page running, and my arms looked really nice then. I remember thinking, I was like, man, yeah, my arms look good then. But that was back when I lifted, and I don't do that anymore just because I don't want to. Um, I'm not going to say I don't have time to. I'm very busy, but you make time for the things you want to do. I just don't want to do that. So I just run now. But it was 50 something and change then. And yesterday, uh, I set a PR in the 10K. And my previous PR was at the end of March of this year at the Capital City Classic. It was 46:01. I remember that irked me. One, that's the fastest I've ever run. A PR prior to that was like 46:30, I believe it was. And which I had set in, I think, September of last year. And in March, yeah, I ran the Capital City Classic in 46:01. And yesterday, I did it in officially 44 minutes, 53 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised and pleased with that time.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you wondering what was different?
What was different about that run?
So you weren't wondering what was different?
Well, I know what was different.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. So you could have played it up a little bit though, maybe put on a little bit of an acting job. So Friday, I went to Dick's Sporting Goods, and which is right by my work. I work at a hospital, and Dick's is really it's almost next door. So I need new work shoes. I had a blowout in my others, and I've been wearing those for probably a few weeks with this blowout. And it just got to where I was like, okay, I need to go find some more work shoes. So I left, I went in. I did find a pair I liked eventually, but first I saw that the new trendy running shoe, the adizero, whatever version this is, it were on sale. SL maybe Evo SL, I think it is. Shoe actually, which I have in front of me right here, the Evo SL. It's a beautiful shoe. I like it, and they have all kinds of colorways out there available if you look at them online. Champs sporting goods like Champ Sports, they have some really good deals right now if you're interested in a pair. But this is the new trendy shoe. I've seen some respectable runners wear them at races, so I said, well, they must be legit. So I've been interested in them for a while, and they had a deal on them at Dick's Friday. So I said, all right, I'm gonna just go ahead and get a couple of pair of shoes, which I sent a picture to you of. What did you think when you saw my picture of two pair of shoes, by the way? Because you already think I have too many shoes.
I literally just thought, wow, two more.
Which I will wear. I wear all the shoes I have, by the way.
You know, I'm not saying that you don't. I just still think that you have entirely too many pairs of shoes. So,
There's no such thing
okay.
to me. I threw away the ones I had a blowout in.
Well, that's good. They needed to
Yeah.
be thrown
So
away.
what? They are literally in the trash right now.
Good.
Yeah. Because they weren't any good anymore. I mean, you could still wear them, but not they just weren't comfortable anymore. But yeah, I had no plans of wearing them yesterday, at least Friday. I said I'll test these out, go for some test runs in them, and just see, you know. And like the Toad Suck 10K, even though this race applied to be a Grand Prix race, it has been before. It applied this past year to be one, and for whatever reason, it didn't get it. I think it was the one race that didn't get accepted, which I think is weird
Yeah.
because it's a good race. Like it's a really good race. It's well done. It's well organized. I think maybe just people didn't want another 10K. I don't know what the thinking was behind that. As far as I'm concerned, it should be if it wants to be, because it's a really well done race. But that hasn't affected the turnout at all. There was a big turnout yesterday, and that was even with like Wildcat Extra Mile going on, and it
Mhm.
helped that Wildcat wasn't a Grand Prix race this year,
Yeah.
so that definitely helped Toad Sucks turnout quite a bit. Because I would have done Wildcat, if it were a Grand Prix race again. So I'm kind of glad I got to go back to Toad Suck. It was cool to do that again. And uh yeah, I wore those shoes. I said, you know what? It's just a 10K. It doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
As far as Grand Prix points or anything like that. Let's give these shoes a test run. So the first time I wore them outside of Dick's Sporting Goods. So I put them on, and in fact, a friend of mine even said, "There, you're bold for," because I told her, I said, "This is the." She said, "Have you run in those yet?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, that's bold," or something
Yeah.
along. I don't know if it was that verbatim, but I remember bold being said. And I don't know, I felt good. I said, "Why not? Let's go give it a try." And I started off. I felt good. I felt like I was putting in effort. I was really trying to do well. And my first mile was 6:40. It was a 6 minute 40-second first mile, and I thought, well, that's fast. We should probably slow it down, obviously. So I pulled back some, but my second mile was 7:10, and I stayed kind of in that 7:10 to 7:30 in between there the rest of the way. Which the average pace for the time I ran, just under sub 45 10K is 7 minutes 14 seconds a mile. So
I'm going to pause the recording really quick. We had some technical difficulties there, but we are back. And in true fashion, neither of us remember where we were. So Graham is probably going to repeat some things. Take it away.
probably. Well, those technical difficulties consisted of my internet going out. So that's what happened there. You were very frozen, like you weren't moving. You were like a taxidermy animal because and I say that because your eyes were a certain way. They were like big, yeah, like that. And you just stayed there. I was like, wow, she's really interested in what I'm saying. Um, I don't think what I'm saying is that interesting. And finally, I just said, "Are you good?" And then by at that point, I realized, yeah, the something had gone wrong. Okay, so I don't know where we started, but anyway,
Oh, we were talking about how um the Toad Suck 10K had not been a part of the Grand Prix. So that was what caused it to have a bigger turnout this year. That's what we were talking about and
it was
discussing.
that it was that far back. Okay, all right. Well, it was a good turnout this year, and in 2019, when I ran the court, or 2018, excuse me, when I ran that race, I remember it was hot, and you finish on the track like that. Nothing's changed with the course or anything like that from what I can tell. You finish on the track, and you come in, and when you come into the onto the track at Conway High School, you can see the finish line, tent, mat, everything on your left. But they say, no, you got another lap to do, so you have to do all 3/4 of a lap around the track. And at that point, you're gassed. So you're just like, I just want to finish. At least that's what I was thinking in 2018 when I did it, because it was hot. And I had already stopped a couple times during that race to walk a little bit and get water, just because it was, I don't know, I'd worn myself out. It was hot and muggy. Wasn't yesterday. I felt good coming into the track. I knew then I was going to have to do another lap. So I had already mentally prepared myself for that. And when I got onto the track, I was like, okay, finish strong. And then I looked at my watch, and so I was really close to 45 minutes. And so I just found an extra bit of energy in me to finish strong and put together a pretty solid kick at the end. And I was able to come in under 45 minutes. So, and I wasn't dead. I felt perfectly fine. I got my medal and then went over to the guardrail where everybody was getting funneled into the track, and I was waiting for my friends to come in and finish because I had two coworkers that ran, and I had another friend of mine running, and I knew several other people that were also running. But really, those three were the only ones I cheered on coming in. Really, my buddy Joey from work, I missed him. I didn't see him at all during the race beforehand. And again, it was two guys from work that were running. So I was hanging out with one of them before the race, and we were sitting right there in the middle of the entrance to Conway, to the Conway High School football field, making ourselves very seen, thinking like he might, see us as he walks in. Didn't happen. Uh, Cam is the other guy's name, and he came. It was kind of funny because they had completely different goals. Joey wanted to come in under an hour, and Cam basically just wanted to finish. He was going to do the Little Rock Marathon, and tore his meniscus. So he was limping around work for 2 to 3 months, maybe more. And so he was basically just like, I just want to finish. We'll see what happens. I'll probably going to run walk. And when I was looking at my watch, waiting for that hour to come up, thinking they're going to come around at any moment, possibly. Here comes Cam with like 50, almost 58 minutes entering the track. I said, hey, you can break an hour. And he turned it up and finished just under an hour. And I didn't see Joey. And at that point, I just walked away. I was like, maybe he didn't show up. I don't know. But then Cam said he saw him and that Joey was in front of him. I was like, oh, well, he just vanished. I didn't see him. And then about that time, I'm talking to somebody else and I feel a tap on my shoulder and it's Joey. He was there. He said he came in an hour and 7 minutes. And I said, yeah, Cam said you were here. He said you were in front of him the whole time. He goes, what Cam finish in? I told him. He goes, what? He was, because they had basically opposite goals and they got opposite results out of that. But they both showed up, both ran, both finished. That's all that matters. And I said there was no, or it was definitely a good turnout for the race. My time, which was a PR for me, was good for seventh in my age group, which I was like, okay, well, that's good for the race. That time can usually win a lot of these things in my age group, at least. Um, wasn't the case yesterday, but that's perfectly fine. I don't really care about that stuff anymore.
That's okay. But I was surprised that you were as quick as you were and didn't even place in your age group. Because we're used to that, but they were just some fast runners yesterday.
Yeah, there were. I do like the medal. I've got it here. It's got just the nice white to it and the running toad on the front, like the ribbon. Nice little medal. I dig it. But all in all, it was a good race yesterday. If they want to be a Grand Prix race, they should, because like that's a really well done race. It's in Conway. I don't think, well, there is a race in Conway, that chase race, but Conway should have more. Little Rock I mean, if Fort Smith has multiple, Conway should.
I feel like it's just because it's a 10K and there's other 10Ks, so they didn't
So
run
what?
another one.
So what? There's multiple 5Ks. There's goofy distances just to have different things, which I'm fine with. I understand that you want variety, but okay, it's another 10K. So what? My thoughts on it. If they want to be a part of it, they should be. I think it's weird that that's the only one that didn't get accepted. from what I remember.
I mean, I don't know, so I have no thoughts on that.
Okay, well, those are mine.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. I did have another race last weekend.
Yes.
It was the Frisco Railroad Run in Willard, Missouri. Now that race offers 5 different distances. They have an 8K, a half marathon. Why are you making a face?
Because I forgot about the 8K.
Okay. Yeah. They had an 8K, a half marathon, a marathon, a 50K, which do you remember what that is in miles?
31, 32, something around there.
It's only one of those. It was the first one. It's 31 miles. So good job. And a 50-mile race. So 5 different distances. The 50K and 50-mile races start at 6 a.m. The marathon starts at 7 a.m. And then the half marathons after that, and the 8K is after that. I did the marathon. I used that as my race to cross off Missouri as far as the 50 state marathon journey I'm on, which I officially checked off state number 3 with that one. So another state in the books as far as marathon races go for me. I was going for, and I said it on the show and to other people because I wanted to tell people about it so I'd have more incentive to do it. I wanted to come in under 4 hours. That did not happen. You were right in your prediction. And I had a little bit of motivation in me when I was getting tired before that, when I was still on pace of prove Michelle wrong, prove Michelle wrong, prove Michelle wrong. And when I got to 20 miles, when I hit mile 20, I was still on pace. I was still on pace to do it, coming under 4 hours. My legs were they were done. I could have, I think, pushed for another 5K at that pace and gotten it done. But the thought of doing that for 10 more kilometers just seemed like too much. Or it was too much at that point. The sun had come out. It was a little warm. It wasn't too warm, but it was a little warm. And yeah, there was a little bit more incline. For the most part, the race is kind of flat, but it's almost a steady up. And it was like that on the way back too, which I thought was odd. Maybe I was just really tired, and just any little incline was, noticeable, very much so. But I remember that on the first 13.1 miles down, I remember thinking, gosh, this is like a steady incline. This sucks now, but it's going to be great on the way back. It's going to be a nice come down. And because it'll be good. I'm tired, but I'm running downhill, so it's fine. I thought it was going to be a real strength. And then on the way back, I kept waiting for that to happen, and it never did. It was a steady uphill again, is what it felt like. I mean, there were some dips, but it was nothing. It was nothing drastic or dramatic either way. It was either like a steady up and then a little steady down, and it was like that really there and back. It was an out and back. It was on an old railroad track area, which 90% of this race was gravel, by the way. It was the first couple of miles, it was paved. It was like a bike path, a bike walking path. It was nicely paved. But then you hit that gravel at a certain point, and it just stays that way. It stays that way until you hit and it keeps going. That wasn't fun to run on, but it wasn't that bad either. It wasn't like it was loose gravel or anything like that. It was pretty solid. So I didn't really have a problem there or a complaint or anything, but that might have hindered my timing a little bit. But it was interesting. Now I'd never of course, done trail races, but nothing like that before, where it was just on an old railroad track forever, seemingly. I can only imagine what the 50 miler was like. But I, on the way back, I did like that you were basically covered by foliage, like trees were over you most of the way, I would say. So that blocked out the sunlight and just kept the heat off of you. And there were even spots where you'd run by a little bitty like creek area that would be next to it, and you get the breeze from that, from the water. And that was really nice. Those moments, I really enjoyed that. Also, the aid station crews were fantastic, but also um, there were, when I got to the 13.1 mile turnaround, that was my first sip of just ice cold water. Like they had it in the cups, but I mean, it was ice cold water, Gatorade too. And I remember taking a sip of it and I was like, oh, that hits different. And so I grabbed two more cups and put them down. And it was really kind of like that the rest of the way. It was at least, yeah, on my way back. Um, some was colder than others, but for the most part, yeah, it was, I don't know, they did a great job. If I did do the 50K or 50 miler, probably the 50 miler or the 50 miler for sure, I would bring a water vest just to have some extra stuff, because you do have like 2 or 3 mile gaps where there's no aid station. So it'd be nice. And I was thirsty at times, but I'd make up for it whenever I'd hit these aid stations on the way back for sure. But all in all, it was a good race. It was well done. I saw two king snakes on the way back. I saw nothing on the way down. Again, it was an out and back. I did see two king snakes, one of which I didn't see it until, and at this point, this was past mile 20. So it was all between mile 20 and 26. And I was gassed and just, I wasn't paying attention. And fortunately, I was on the right side of the road for me, because as I ran by, I see a snake just chilling, just waiting on me to pass, waiting patiently for me to pass. And I just said, oh, F word. And I kept going and thought, well, fortunately, I was on this side and didn't run over it or anything. Not that it would have hurt had it ever really hurt me, had it bit me or anything. But I didn't know what it was in the moment, But and then later on, a couple more, 2 or 3 more miles down, there was and this was the other thing, they had cyclists going up and down the route just to check on runners and make sure everything was clear. A lot of them cleared some branches off before the race because I think they had a storm come through that week. But there were no issues on the course or anything like that. And one of the cyclists is coming by me, and he's doing this, for those of you watching on Spotify and YouTube, with his hand, and I didn't know what that meant. And he said, he said, black snake up here on your left. I said, oh, okay. And it was the same kind of snake, except bigger. It was a king snake. And it was in the middle of the road as I was running. And so I just stopped because I was kind of run walking at that point anyway. And so I just stopped to let it go. And as it got what I thought was far enough out of my way, I tried to go around it from behind it. And it did not like that. It did not like that I was trying to go behind it, because it probably, it didn't know what I was doing. So it whipped around like, hey, what are you doing? And so I just pulled back and just said, I don't want this smoke. Do whatever you need to do. And then it just went back the other direction it came from. And then I scooted on by and then finished the race. The course was a little short. I saw that you were videoing me on my way in, and my plan was, and I knew I knew I was going to be short because I was surprised when I saw the finish. One, I could hear them. I could hear the person on the microphone. I said, man, that sounds close, and I still got whatever to go. And I was like, okay, it's a short finish, but I want to get my 26.2 in. When I crossed the finish line, I was at 25.88. And I was like, I can't stop here. And I was gassed. I mean, I was tired. I mean, you saw me after. I was beat. But I was like, I'm not stopping now. My plan going in was I'm going to let them put the medal around my neck and then I'm just going to keep running. But a girl had finished just ahead of me. And when she crossed the finish line, the guy put the medal around her neck. And I don't know what was happening, but it was taking too long for my taste to get a medal to me. So I said, screw it, I'll come back. So I just kept going and basically did a full lap around the parking lot and came back to ours or to our area and stopped at 26.26 just to make sure I got that little bit extra. And it was technically a PR for me. I think it was 4:17 something was my official time, but on my Strava it's 4:20 and change. So there's that. I do have the medal from that one.
Yeah.
It is now this was the same medal for the 8K half and the full marathon. This one here. And I did place second in my age group, so they gave me this little thing to attach to the ribbon, which I thought was neat. It was
Yeah, I like
different.
it.
Yeah, I liked it. The 50K and 50 milers got buckles, and when I looked at them, like on the website, on Facebook and on the website, they didn't look that great to me. So I had kind of said to you, I've been interested in the 50 miler, but I wanted to go somewhere where I liked the buckle and it wasn't a real strict cutoff or anything like that. So, but when I saw the pictures of the buckles there, like that were on Facebook, et cetera, I said, man, those look a lot better. And then I went for my first like workout run since then, which was Monday. It was Monday evening when we had gotten back. I said, I feel all right. I think I'm gonna go for a run. And I had it in my head then. I was like, I might go back and do this 50 miler next year just to get one of those buckles. We'll see about that. But it is in my brain. Like I think I'd like to do a 50 miler, and I could go back and do that one.
You
It's a
think so?
nice buckle. It's a decent drive. If I were to do one, I would do that one. But
Okay.
yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks of running. What's next for you? Still have Soma, right?
Yeah,
And
that's my
that's
next one is Soma.
yeah, that's in June. I have a half marathon next weekend in Little Rock. It's one of those U.S. Road Running Club races. I'm doing the half marathon there. After that, nothing that weekend, but then the River Trail 15K is the weekend after that. It's Memorial Day weekend. And then I think after that is, or a couple weeks after that is Soma. So that's what we have coming up, but we're out of time. But we'll be back in a couple of weeks to see what all I've been up to and see how Michelle is doing. And she's done with some of her personal life things, which are
Yeah.
good things.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, we're out of time. We'll see y'all next time. I'm Grandpal. Michelle's in Goulas. Deuces, y'all.
See ya.